the ability to pull someone out of the Maokai route. I think that one's completely fine. You're locking in that bot lane, and what that means is that you're not losing some counter pick value a little bit later into the draft, especially when you talk about those winning lanes being important to the brand. You want to make sure you hold those lanes as well as possible. I think probably something like a Cassante on 4 would not be bad for Burdol, especially if you remove the Jax. You could maybe remove something like the Udyr as well and just say that the Cassante is not going to leave lane, and that means that you can save 5th pick for a more interesting last pick mid for Haichao.
And that's leaving a little bit of agency there in the mid lane, which I actually can appreciate with a bit of a different look for a second series. The Jace ban is going to be there, so taking away maybe a piece of their puzzle if you want to go with that Jace Maokai combo, but will not be available for LGD.
Jace has kind of fallen off the radar somewhat when it's come to mid lane pool. We occasionally see it in top lane into some characters, some of the tankier characters when you can kind of sit a load of junglers top lane. But that's not going to be available in this game nonetheless. So, removing that Orianna, which is one of the more strong matchups in mid lane. I wonder if they'll try and ban out the Cassante themselves, actually, at this point. Might be valuable to remove that away from Burdol. The problem is that both Cassante and Udyr are going to be available, so you're going to get a annoying kind of priority tank in this top lane available for Burdol either way, which I think is quite valuable for LGD.
Yeah, I don't think there's much getting away from the champion pool up there. Dinar always available as well if you want to.
Blind pick
not
Corki.
Available, rather. Corki does go through, so we've seen, at least today, we've seen a positive Corki, okay?
Yeah, we have, but I'm just worried about... Corgi is not always the most safe laner. There are some counter picks.
Yeah.
I mean, you could lock in something like an Akali. It's not the best for the composition, but it's so good into the Corki that it might just be worth it on its own. I want to see something aggressive that can punish Haichao for picking this blindly into the mid lane. And now, of course, they give up the Cassante as well, which I thought would actually be quite good for LGD's composition.
Is it the Akali? Like, I feel like that might be an aggressive answer into it. But
yeah, that's my first thought of it. Yeah. You could also potentially go for something like well, we joked about it with the Jwei, because it can outrange the Corki. But this is the aggressive answer where Corki can lose very hard through side lanes eventually, because you can just never walk up to the lane.
Yeah, you'll just get instantly ulted every time. So Ultra Prime pretty happy with what they've come away with. Feels like LGD are the ones that are experimenting a little bit. They're bringing out the brand for Meteor, and now we get the Poppy locked in for Burdol.
Now, Poppy really can threaten Cassante on the top side every so often, because you can punish both his E and his W with the Steadfast Presence. You can get the extra damage from that one, and it means that even in a tank top lane archetype, you can get some pressure in that top lane. So this is quite interesting seeing coming out of Burdol as well. He's played this for different points in his career as well. So LGD, they probably do lose the frontline advantage just a hair to Ultra Prime if Hacker and Decade end up getting on the table well. But you have such a range advantage stood behind those tanks from the other side that I feel like that setup and that Corki, if they reach the right amount of items, we could see a pretty similar performance to what we saw from NIP shown earlier in the day.
So LGD with a little bit of combustion behind them can actually snowball to victory, if you will. It would be a very interesting on-fire snowball, but really looking at that stability from the side of Ultra Prime, looking at Yeekai and Doggo to be big members, but also always coming back to the conversation we started, and it is all about jungle for me, and seeing what level up we get from these two guys going into a second series, because there was some chaos and some interesting calls in their first series, and I would like to see that cleaned up and see some very, very honed in aggressive action between these two. As we're getting into our first game of Shanghai, it's our second best of 3 of the night, and it's nothing but chaos between LGD and Ultra Prime. Do you think we get a wake crowd here? Do you think we get some cheers, Nymaera?
I hope so. I miss the JIOs. They're one of my favorite parts of it. Let's see if they give us them. A valiant effort. There's some cries out there in the crowd.
We got some LGD cheerers out there, but now it's the brass tacks. It's about picking up your first series win of the season here in your second series. And Ultra Prime starting off pretty strong. Again, we talked about their compositions a little bit more. I want to see what Hacker can do to play around Yeekai here.
Yeah, the thing with the Maokai is that you're not necessarily doing early jungle pathing for aggressive reasons. Maokai's not the most aggressive early jungler, but they're normally to answer things on the map. You can throw a sapling in to track where Meteor might be moving across the map in the enemy jungle, but that's realistically what you're going to be doing up until you get to the bigger team fights as they start to evolve in 5v5s.
Imagine being early aggressive as a tree. I just don't think it
Look, I have a pretty active imagination, but I don't know how to imagine that. That's not something I've practiced with. And I say that as someone who, I know that we're both like big tabletop players. I was a huge Wood Elves player on tabletop, so you know I've had my I've had my interactions with tree men before, but this is beyond my recent experience.
I'm very interested to see how that evolves a little bit more. We get some good trades at Botside TV2, but another thing I witnessed is that the Earth Corki makes a comeback again. Rookie took it earlier. We got Haichao cooking it now. I haven't seen it in other places. What's up?
Yeah,
is that the meta?
I kind of miss the Corki. I know you have a lot of animal facts.
The wiggle
Do they
play?
extend to dog facts? Do they extend to them? You're a particularly dog fact person. I have one fact about dogs.
Okay,
as we see Doggo on the screen. Apparently, whatever genetic connection there is between like aggressiveness and friendliness is also linked to how perky a dog's ears are. So if you have you have some breeds which have like floppy ears that evolve over time. That's because they've actually just got more friendly over time as well. Okay. So perky ears, that's normally a sign of like activity. Doggo, he's got perky ears here in the bot lane.
Did you know that dogs dream? And Doggo is dreaming of an aggressive 2v2 bot lane.
Is that why they do the whole like running in their sleep thing?
They do. And puppies and seniors, the like older dogs will actually dream more than like middle-aged dogs, which is really weird.
That's good. Don't give up on your dreams, old dogs.
Yeah.
Don't give up. That's a positive affirmation you can have from that. I
Yeah,
say that
exactly.
I'm very much a cat person, but I do. I wasn't really a dog person until my parents got a dog, and then I was like, okay, this is actually pretty okay. I actually quite appreciate dogs now.
But isn't Ari a fox? So then,
that's not a dog or a cat.
Exactly, but how do you just said you're a cat person, so what are you going to do about foxes?
Okay, so foxes aren't really that domesticated. You can't really, well, you can, it's just a lot of effort, and they're also very loud, and they're quite stinky. So, I wouldn't keep one.
Are wild
I can admire them from a distance, but I wouldn't keep one. You get what I mean?
They'd be really good shoutcaster friend because they make a ton of different noises.
Yeah,
so just have them make.
So that's why the meme song of like, what does the fox say? It's because they make so many different sounds because of the way they're vocal.
What does the Burdol and Meteor say? Maybe trying to gank.
I think they say goodbye.
Oh, okay.
There's literally nothing there. We have picked a pretty good time.
There can't be anything.
So as much as you wanted to see like the early jungle aggression, we're being denied that somewhat. Our lanes are very even, pretty much everywhere. I mean, top lane's getting a bit of an advantage from Poppy. As we said, being able to punish sometimes the Cassante at points in the game. But realistically, these aren't the game-breaking plays. Right? We're waiting until Void Crumbs come up at 5 minutes. If you leave them unattended with a brand, he just burns them down incredibly quickly. This isn't really where the game's being decided.
But that does bring up the conversation that we said. Usually you want to try to aggress into a brand, not just let him farm up. So once we see that kind of come to bear, is that going to be something Ultra Prime are ready to deal with?
I mean, at least you're not at the point where Meteor's going into a jungle and causing a whole load of issues. Hacker is not going towards the brand, going to the bot lane, though.
I don't know if he's going to get it. He gets the flash, though. Out, knocks back with the Bramble Smash, and Kepler's getting oh so low, and he is one with the trees now.
The roots have claimed him. I think you have to just early flash. He flashes as the root is coming through from Maokai, follows him all the way back, and that's now a very difficult situation for the bot lane of LGD. The wave is pushing into Ultra Prime's turret, and it's going to be the start of an early dragon. At least this means that with the bot side focus, Meteor is going to do this thing where you Q the first one, E it for the spread, the passive then goes down on all of them once you use the W to trade of the early objectives. But with the flash and the kill gone now, Kepler, that's a bit of a bot lane hole that LGD would like to plug at some point.
I just love it because, you get a little bit of a welcome back, Kepler, and give him a nice how do you do down here.
Yeah, you're using the E, trying to make sure that the vision isn't there to get the point of ability. Just such a flash early, it feels like a little bit of disrespect there from Kepler. I know that Maokai doesn't always have the highest early damage, but you still have to respect it all the same.
We're going to try to play more aggressive on the aftermath of that play. Probably going to find Haichao soon. It's been an interesting story for these two guys, right? You were talking about Doggo earlier, coming over.
And
big
dogs.
name and dogs. Big name making moment at Worlds and whatnot. But you know, Kepler, I talked so much about all those off-season tournaments. He has all the clips in, but he has been around since 2020, right? And it's crazy to have watched him go in and out of the system over and over again, go back to LPL, go back to LDL, and it feels like maybe he has a chance now to be that kind of turnaround ADC for LGD, like Doggo has now been a staple for Ultra.
Wow, okay, we've got Burdol on the top side as well. Stepback is already used.
They might actually not find anything.
Yeah, that's the thing. It look a lot of the time in this season at least, it feels like the Santes are using their ult more for poke at some points. Like they'll take a bit of burst. They know that they're not actually losing that much health from actually proccing their ult. They're actually using it. This is a bit more of a worried extended trade now. Like, the ult is now worn off. You're out of damage.
Burdol
Potentially could use that ult for a bit more CC, but again, wet noodles, bit of a poke.
And Nymaera gets baited.
Yeah, yeah, a little bit. I was hoping for a bit more. You know.
Hey, they got me earlier with the brand.
True,
hey,
true,
you know,
true.
it's all right. But now
Oh yeah,
we can
what's
maybe
happening?
look.
Top lane?
Oh, it's happening. We're getting action. It's happening bot side. Kepler, he's trying to save. He's really trying to save JinJiao's life, but I don't think it's gonna happen. We got Meteor on his way here with some AoE, and actually ends up being the difference maker in saving his support.
So JinJiao definitely has enough HP to make it out of that one, and of course the grey health helping a little bit more with that. Meteor hasn't really been that active so far. He's been farming up though. As soon as he gets to that one item, he's going to be very powerful. Notice that he's taken the first strike and the triple tonic as opposed to something like the electrocute with a bit more burst damage. He'll be able to chunk through the front line fairly effectively because he's got the elixir of force in his inventory. Might be able to use that for one of the first fights of the game for the extra 20 AP.
Actually getting traded pretty heavily there as well. But they were actually moving mid lane down, so nothing else going to come of it. I think that's the biggest thing I've noticed in the game so far. It's literally just been about presence. Like, literally, Meteor's presence stopped the bot lane fight.
What did you get? Did you get any nice presents?
No, I didn't. Not yet. We got one.
Well, we have the package coming at some point, yeah. So, funnily enough, we were talking about the cat person, dog person, fox person. So, this Christmas, I got about 4 Ari-related presents. It was a good time to be an Ari maker.
Yeah, I can see by you know, some of the pictures that see in your background.
Yeah, if you look very closely, I know it's blurred out just because the way that the camera works, but there's an awful lot of Ari stuff back there, folks.
Also, really good announcement photo you had on the thing. I think it really represented you well.
Thanks. Yeah,
your Ari hoodie.
I'm returning to my more base instincts and my base my base calling. I'm just the gremlin gamer, as I'm sure many people will relate to out there.
That's all of us, isn't it? I don't think there's any getting away from it.
Yeah, I don't trust anyone that plays League that hasn't had a bit of that. It really has been a slow early game though. I mean, we've had a couple of plays towards bot side. Again, we're still within 600 gold. We've had, second reds coming back up now. Hackers on top side for it. But really, we're just waiting until maybe second dragon. I think giving over 2 early dragon stacks is not something that LGD would particularly love to do. Maybe that's the goal.
Love the trading pattern there from Doggo, actually stepping up right there after the root goes through. So some little things starting to come, but it gets me honestly excited as play-by-play because we have 2 very explosive teams, one with a literal explosive man on their side that are just waiting for big team fights. So I'm here for it.
Absolutely. He's got his flash, but he's off in vision. This could be a good angle.
So in trouble right now. Doggo's gonna early flash. They're like, okay, well, Jwei gets hit. Sonic Shadow in the combo. A return kill for LGD, and it goes to Meteor.
Nice CC chain from LGD. That actually could have been a little bit cleaner even then. There was the time catch W, which I believe was cancelled out by, I'd imagine it would have to be the Milio Q, the kick.
Ultra Mega Fire.
That's the one I did not memorize. So I memorized all of the Phalios' abilities. I still haven't done
ability.
And
Jwei,
my
favorite ability.
Do not ask me about Jwei's abilities. I have not got around to that yet. I look at this dude and I'm like, yep, that's a button press. We might see Dragon being taken down as we're ruminating about different ability names. It will just be Hacker forcing LGD away from that one. I think with low mana and a couple of those ultimates being down, LGD don't really want to overstay. Better for them to get a reset, get some more combat stats, and return to the map.
We'll take a look back at the unfaithful moment down here. It ended up being a return kill for LGD.
That's a really clean pick for him. That almost saves them. And then, of course, the brand Q lines after that. Without the level 6 available from Meteor, you can't use Lucian to tank the stun or something like that, body block it, and then cleanse it away afterwards. So, sadly for them, kill is returned back towards them. Brand is going to do Brand things and clear through those grubs very, very quickly, so it's likely to be the 6 grubs going all the way over to LGD. That thing at the bottom of the screen is Hollow Radiance. It's the MR Sunfire tank item. Who's built that one up? That would be the Marco. So it's not going to be as damaging as we saw earlier with Leandries. It's going to be a bit more Sunfire, and that's some damage on the one side.
Oh, he got gobbled up. Meanwhile, we had a package from Haichao over here. It's available, but they can't get the pull-off on it. Doggo's just gone down in bot lane. Decade's gone too. What the heck? Haichao gets taken out by Yeekai. And what a rounding, crazy carousel we have found ourselves on. As now Burdol, he forgot that Yeekai was behind him, and he's just going to try to get a kill back on the hacker here. This nice little stun actually come from Meteor, playing with a really nice range advantage here. Does have the ulti popped, but does get the shuriken flip. Not enough to burn. He's got the plants, and he's alive.
I mean, this dude is never going to go without eating his greens ever again. Saved by the honey fruit. On the Chemtech Rift, there was a few more of them around the map, and they give a little bit of extra healing, shielding, and the movement speed as well. Gosh, that was a close run thing. It's still going to be 6 grubs over to the side of LGD, who gets a lot of that gold, though. Meteor comes away with, 101, so that's pretty okay for him. But the big thing now is Yeekai's going to be quicker towards his first item. I think if this Akali gets the first item, can actually side lane and potentially force someone like Haichao into bad situations. That's not a bad play pattern for Ultra Prime to play towards.
We're actually going to take a look back at it too, and it was all started with the Brad trying to take the grubbies here. It just turned into chaos.
It does. Haichao had the package for this fight though, which of course is a huge power spike. I think that Burdol has played the early laning phase very well, and then in his first big fight of the game, managed to get good value. The problem is, you can dash all the way you want to, you still get followed by the shuriken flip. So Yeekai is someone we also asked to have big value in this game, coming out with a pretty important fight here.
The follow-up too as well, and we get to see Doggo going down here in the bottom side.
So this is a route into the knockup. This time the Chameleon Q is not around to cancel it, so the damage comes up. For the ultimate from Time Hit the Devour has a lot of damage on it if you have to get it onto any champion. You don't tend to see that as much in the support roles, typically safe for his own teammates. But yeah, Kepler and JinJiao, after that first death went down against them in bot lane, they're starting to really put out some hurt here.
And we saw earlier today, well, how scary a Corki plus Senna plus Tahm Kench can be with the amount of scaling and damage they can provide later on. So we'll see if that continues to be the case here and Ultra Prime can find an answer. Because again, you got to remember, they first picked the Lucian. They were very confident in the way that they could approach this game.
But one of the things which was different between this competition and the one we saw earlier from it, I think, in their first game of the day. Wait, was that game 1 or game 2? That was game 1. Yes, the second one was the Azir game. I'm already getting mixed up. It's only 3 games in folks. We'll see how far it goes.
Yeah.
The thing is, you don't have a Cassante to go unstoppable in front of the Maokai route. You have a squishier jungler in the form of Meteor as well. So there are more targets to go towards. This is quite worrying though, because you have 6 grubs and 2 people hitting this in a turret. Yes, you might be getting that Herald, but you're losing half of the bot lane turret for it. Yeekai will be able to clear out, but you're not going to be able to completely stop them from hitting this turret.
Wow, they're doing some serious damage. They aren't able to get it. They do, actually. Throwing up the little Teemo emote too. The grubbies coming out, or the mites rather, and they still are not being punished here.
That was really well spaced by Kepler, by the way. He was walking into the turret range, getting the auto attack while the turret was firing in another minion, getting an auto attack, then stepping out of turret range so the turret didn't refocus on him. If he takes a turret shot or two, there's a chance that Yeekai flies forward and forces them to maybe blow an ult and a flash. It would have gotten close after that point, so well played by Kepler to get that one down. Interesting thing of note, it is not going to be the Storm Surge first item from Yeekai. It's Lichbane. Lichbane is a strong first item. I haven't seen it so much on the Akali, but I think anyone who wants to build non-mana AP assassin items is choosing between Storm Surge Protobell, and then also the Lich Bane as well. So that one's going to be more sustained damage. It means that Burdol might take more damage in the side lane matchup there too.
And as we move forward, Hacker actually has the Rift Herald under tow, so available at his request to drive into an enemy tower. About 20 seconds for a Dragon coming up as well. Would be a third Dragon for Ultra Prime, so they might be in a pretty big deficit, but map control-wise, they're sitting well.
You also have the support item from Lucian underway too. It's been a little bit slow stacking. He's still on the World Atlas. Well, beyond that, you see Kepler's up full foot. So he started with that one. But this is just a lot of damage, man. This Kepler's center is doing a hell of a lot of work right now.
Got the Yumu's, Serrated Dirk, and that Blood Song with the pickaxe, dude. Doing a lot of AD, and LGD will take their first Dragon of the game and deny the sole point of Ultra Prime.
So, Ultra Prime, you're going to have to figure out where you're going to start getting your resources from. Taking a top lane out of turret is a good start. What you really need to do is find a way to allow Yeekai an extended run in a side lane somewhere against, you'd like to say, the core keep, but then, of course, the Hex Whip is going to make that a little bit difficult. Ultra Prime need to start finding advantages in side lanes nonetheless.
When we're looking at them trying to find that, right, we have to look at the lack of range I feel like they have in their composition and how that plays into the composition of LG.
The range gets a little bit more easy to play around once you get to Rapid Fire Cannon on the Lucian, especially once you get Rapid Fire Cannon and then the Blood Song as well. That's good, but Hacker is currently alone.
He's all by himself. Pop the Nature's Grasp there. Kepler makes it out alive, and that's the strength of this very safe bottom lane. He's a little bit worse for wear after that.
That could have gone a lot worse. Luckily, Doggo and Jwei turned up in pretty short order, but Hacker for a moment there potentially was walking to 3 people. Fran was a little closer. It would have gone very, very badly, but still makes it out of that one okay. Kepler's just got himself back to base, and he's got himself Serpent's Fang, interestingly. I think that's what you just picked up on as well. So that'll have some value versus bits of Milio's kit, and of course a little bit of Sensei's. It's not the biggest thing ever. It's not like you've got huge enchanted healing shields on the other side, but still.
Maybe he's just going for the early items. So
yeah, but then why wouldn't you go on Blood Blade? Oh my gosh, that's Brand.
Yep, that'll happen when you step up a little too far, and that's what I was talking about. The lack of range makes it very difficult, even when you get the rapid fire cannon, which is very close. Still hard. Haichao has the package now available. Ultra Prime setting up around here. Burdol behind enemy lines here is going to be able to get out.
He's using the Audacious Charge to, or the Heroic Charge to get out of danger in that one. So, Ultra Prime, they're not really finding angles and side lanes the way that I wanted them to. They look to maybe group at this point. Of course, Mazel, very, very strong. Will be coming up at the next half a minute or so, next 30 seconds. They will be at that second rank, but it feels like Ultra Prime, I don't want them to play the grouped up fight still, if at all possible.
Ultra Prime's top laner looking like a little bit of snackage here for LGD. They actually won't pull the trigger on it, but they do have Kepler, JinJiao in mid.
And they've got Kepler, JinJiao in mid, which is giving Burdol a real platform to just say, right, I'm just going to walk into the enemy jungle, I've got 1.5 items. Jungle Poppy, full build of 3 items. Burdol misses the ult.
It's a ping difference, right? That's what it is. We do have a full engage right now on the backline of LGD. Nice double knockback there from Decade, and it's been making the difference. The Abyssal Dive does coming through, but it's Yeekai. No, okay. The big explosives coming through, and an extra burn on top of it all. Ultra Prime, they'll go ahead and fire up the engine and get this Rift Herald in here, as I think that's a little bit of a mistake from Hacker, but he does speed his way out to a tower shot death, and now Meteor was moving forward. But the start from Decade looked real good.
That was such a strange fight. It felt like the teleport from Haichao was really late. Maybe the communication was, we can get out fine. Obviously, that wasn't the case. So, a handful of kills go across the place. It's not really going to lead to many big map plays.
Why is server gonna do this to him?
But you have to. I mean, if the problem is, even if you connect it onto the Sensei, chances are he presses W and goes to stop it. This is where the big stuff starts, right? You manage to get the Devour out early, and Decade, after the Devour's over, still gets into melee range of the center, gets to get ults onto them, and that means that the center time Kent was really out of position. If you force the flash of both of these bot laners and the ult, and they're still in melee range, that's a problem.
Oh, no.
This is just not playing against Brand mode. They get like a triple passive setup at that point. Meteor does insane work, but that to me has got to be just a misclick, right?
Yeah,
surely that's a misclick. Because
right?
that is insane. Wait, hang on. The steadfast presence stops the dash out of the Herald? That happens? That's an interaction.
All right, well, we're here Fight Night round 2, right back in the mid lane. No package available this time, but we're setting up for a little bit of fisticuffs.
That we are. So, who's on the agenda? Who's on the fight card for tonight?
We're going
Burdol
in, don't matter.
Pick up the Maokai.
Analysis later. We have fighting. I actually think the bouncing there for the Power Classic was really big, and now they can just follow that up too. I don't think there's much getting out of that one from Ultra Prime, and you can start seeing Nymaera. LGD's comp is coming alive.
That it is. If you can't get on top of the center time bench like you did in the last fight, it's not going to look nearly as pretty. And the last one was already pretty messy in regards to that anyway. So LGD, they take that mid lane out of the turret. They're going to take themselves to Dragon. That's going to be, once again, a denial of soul point for Ultra Prime. It's going to be more golden pocket from the kills. And for that fight as well, Meteor had the Rylai's. He's going to get even more gold off of the last phase of the play as well. LGD, they might not have as much tank as the other team when they have everyone kind of put together with the Maokai and the Sante, but they have a hell of a lot of damage. This time, the big difference is the Senna gets to stay safe. Burdol does a great job of front.
Yeah, it's the composition works to a T because of that setup, right? And there's no real way around it with Ultra Prime unless you find backline access. So you can't take a full-on straight-up 5v5 front to back because you need to be able to work around some of this this extra pressure you get from this damage profile.
I'll say one of the other big factors in this too is the fact that Doggo had a very late support item. He still hasn't got himself the Blood Song at 23 minutes. Every other support item in the game from the other 3 people building it has been completed to that degree. Doggo is someone that we asked an awful lot of from Ultra Prime as one of the more veteran members and one of the more star carries on this roster. He's not in the best position right now.
He isn't, but you know who is? It is Meteor on the other side, who I needed to see it come up from, and absolutely tearing it up on the brand, taking advantage of what can be such a strong pick when you play it very well, or at least keep the pressure up on it.
No, when Brand's doing really well, it's Burning Man. When it's not doing very well, it's Fire Festival. This time it's very much the Burning Man. It's doing pretty well for himself. Almost at the 3rd item. Wouldn't surprise me if we went towards the Crit Bloom, actually. Feels like, yes, there's a decent amount of magic resist on the other side with a lot of Virtues being built up. But having one Crit Bloom per team can actually give a lot of value to keeping someone important alive.
You got to look at the worth of that as you move forward. We do have this 1v1 happening down here, but we have some vision contesting going around the top side of the map. Burdol going to go for Decade here. Don't think he has the damage just yet. Just try to push this out. And we're getting set up for potentially threatening the Baron at some point in the future.
Absolutely. I mean, you don't have AD carry Corki, which is probably quicker at taking down Baron, and Senna's not the quickest Baron taker either, but you got a Brand, got Leandries. This is a replay of what happened on the top side. Looks like it was just a culling thrown at the enemy team. Again, still no Blood Song, still has himself the 2 energized items, don't get me wrong, and Milio can help him and extend his range even further. But Doggo is just not going to be able to force people out of the map in the way that he would really like to on this champion.
And it's not going to be any easier as time goes on because you're getting close to a 3rd item for Kepler. And meanwhile, Doggo has had really good farm, but it's just different ways of winning the game. You have about 2.5 minutes for potentially a soul point for either side. And it's crazy that we've gotten to the point where Ultra Prime had such strong commitment to the objective control early on.
Rylai's the
one, by the way.
That is just one, and that wasn't even with the increased damage. So if you hit someone who's burning already from his passive with the W, it does an extra 50% damage or so. It really starts to rack up. Of course, for those of you that don't know Brown, he's new into the meta. So his E, if it hits a burning target, will have double the spread range. W does the damage, gives you the stun. They're all very hot. Doggo's running forward. You don't want to jump forward like that, man.
That was very bold. The Nature's Grasp pulled out as a defensive tool just to make sure nothing else happened.
This is actually a very good example of why typically Lucian works in the LPL, it doesn't work maybe in, say, the LEC and the LCS, because if you are jumping forward as the Lucian, you don't want someone to third party. You're very good in 2v2s and running forward your item profiles. He does have the Blood Song now, so at least he's got that online. But if someone is there to answer you and you haven't had vision on them or track the enemy jungler well enough, that's the kind of play which can get turned around on you. Doggo very, very closely playing the line there. Does get hit a little bit with that brand. It could have gone much worse.
Yeah, it's important to do so when you're at this moment, though, because you're at about a 5K deficit here for Ultra Prime. You got to find some way to get something back, and maybe one of those key moments can be picking off Kepler or Haichao with a big ulti or a big move like that from Doggo.
So Doggo can help with that. One of the things which I asked for early in the game is, hey, maybe we can get Yeekai doing something in a side lane. 2-1 on Modern Kali, he's at 2.5 items as well. But he's been up against Haichao, has been safely farming in range. Haichao hasn't gone towards the Eclipse third. He's finished off the entirety of the wall, which I think in this game makes a lot of sense. If you think that the way you lose this game is Yeekai doing nasty things in the side lane, why not build up the full defensive line? Prime feeling a little bit out of options.
Crypt Bloom does get completed as well as the opportunity there. So I'm curious now with the item breakpoints that LGD are hitting. I mean, they can just force this dragon, get soul points as well. It looks like Ultra Prime do want to position around this though, but it might be too little too late. Woo! Run him down, Kepler!
Kepler's just running in 1v2 at that point. JinJiao's there, being a bit of a cheerleader, but you can see how much this Sen is doing against the Lucian Meteor.
Hacker with the phase rush does make it out of there alive pretty quickly. TP is going to be utilized by Decade. Package on the way.
This is your captain, Haichao. We'll be flying at a height of approximately 60. We'll be looking for a journey for approximately a minute while the package lasts, and hopefully we'll get ourselves a dragon in that time. Please enjoy your flights.
In worst case emergency, maybe you will have to use the package in a defensive manner.
In case of emergency, hold on tight, and we're going a million miles an hour into the enemy team.
Haichao waiting for it over here. Dragon already getting burned down by the little burning man himself. It does go through. Third dragon down. Nature's Craft connects onto multiple members. Now you got Ultra Prime forcing a fight here that I don't think they need to force, as Yeekai is going on to Haichao here. Package still has not been used, so LGD pounce onto Yeekai on the side. I don't think they have the damage to get him just yet on the distance. Decade steps forward, though, and lets the bounce come through. Pyroclasm amongst the members as the Dawning Shadow comes through to add insult to injury. Ultra Prime licking their wounds.
Gosh, they are so lucky that there wasn't just another E tag onto someone to get the extra passive going. It's enough damage to make the Ultra Prime a little bit awkward staying in mid lane.
Burdol going right in, gets the double knock up there as well. The rest of LGD locked down though from some slows, and LGD pushing back onto the Baron with pings aplenty.
Burdol is very close to getting a clutch engage there. He's had a good game on this Poppy. Great in lane phase.
You just really want to engage on LGD here.
And why wouldn't you? Why wouldn't you at this point? You have to try and fight back from this deficit somehow, some way. They still have Yeekai's ult against Splash too, but LGD, they've been very, very happy playing at their max range and playing behind their front line as the ultimate's thrown at them. Ultra Prime, they can't give up all presence in this mid lane because that's surely going to be Baron afterwards. It's already likely to get started right now.
It already is, and they are burning it. As I don't think there's any way for Decade to get here fast enough. You got Hacker pulling the Nature's Wrath. They try to get into the pit here. It is tankier now and harder to take, so it's gotten a little bit time for Ultra Prime to get a response.
Okay, so that's the culling used. But this is the problem. Even without that Eclipse adding the extra value on, 3 item Cork is 3 item Corky. Haichao taking this time to defend mid lane. He'll be slightly isolated right now, but there's no one in position on time to engage onto him. So LGD, as much as they have won a lot of the fights that Ultra Prime have thrown at them, they're struggling to make their own plays at the same time. They don't have the biggest engage tool set in the book right now, but they're still happily building their way to more items. This isn't the kind of game where they have to engage. They will eventually just Eclipse in terms of damage.
They're just easily riding off into the sunset right now, and Ultra Prime's just trying to find a way to knock them off their track. And I think now with those, 3.5, 4th items going to be coming online for LGD, this next fight in about 2.5 minutes is that breaking point for Ultra Prime.
Okay, Baron's still on the table. Feels like we are just returning to this mid lane because Ultra Prime, they tried to play through side lanes. It wasn't really working for them. They've now just tried to overload mid lane and catch LGD off guard. That hasn't really worked for them either. You can see that they're having to call someone extra into the mid lane to make sure that Doggo and Jwei are not just stuck in a plain 2v2, because actually Kepler's just been running forward with impunity and getting huge value out of that. He's got himself the opportunity. That's a new lethality item, which has effectively one of Yomu's old last season passives, where you start combat with more lethality, drops off as it goes through. But it means that if you're looking for the poke, there's a huge amount of stats to add towards it. LGD get themselves mid lane priority again, going to head back towards the Baron, probably force a response once again from Ultra.
It's funny we find ourselves here in the deja vu yet again.
Feels like we've been here before, multiple times. It's like a 3-day festival weekend.
True, and we'll see if it's going to actually be in the favor of Ultra Prime now. Oh my god, Hacker's in there, baby! As Meteor is aggressed on the backside by Yeekai. That's going to be a nice execution there, and it's about near perfect as Ultra Prime make the difference. Burdol's trying to change that as he's in there too, and he gets one back. Decade should be able to help clean this one up. Haichao, big damage from the side. But that's Ultra Prime, just like that, turning it all around.
They are, but Haichao is alive and he has high HP. He has enough rockets to potentially poke people out. Is there anything left to really contest with from the side of Ultra Prime if he stands at rocket range? Haichao doesn't feel like he has the vision. Maybe he thinks he would get caught out a little too easily. He gives up the Ghost and they give up the Baron. So, out of nowhere, LGD, who are winning in the side lanes, winning in the side push, don't give the respect needed to Yeekai on the flank, and this Akali gets some mad work down. Serious props to Hacker as well, finds an angle, the blue trinket spots out Kepler in the middle of his shroud, which means that Hacker can flash forward and get to that root. Key moment, Kepler can't put down huge damage. Haichao, of course, is there for lots of other damage too, but he can't do enough after the brand goes down.
Yeekai, beautiful positioning through all that. The instant damage. First of all, a lot of damage just going into Meteor as well, just trying to put that down. And being able to get the Baron afterwards, all easy as they can actually use that to pressure that mid lane and now potentially get themselves a soul point and tie us up.
And they also have vision control as well now. This means that it's much easier to jump forward as someone like the Akali on a flank, or Lucian jumping forward to use the Blood Song, Rapid Fire, cannon auto attacks as well. So that's going to be an uncontested dragon to LGD. They're licking their wounds a little bit from that last Baron fight. They can't afford to give over another ill-placed, ill-prepared fight.
This is exactly what I would have expected from these two teams, though. Like, literally, it was like a 6K lead for LGD. Nah. That ain't my game. That ain't my best of 3. Let's see what happens when we throw a little bit of chaos into the mix. And I think LGD now trying to reel back and figure out how they approach these next bits.
Doggo's going to just dash up the back. I was wondering if there was a quick enough close angle available from LGD. Package is available, but not being used to contest anything. Maybe this is just a case of saying, look, we're not going to be able to use this in the next, like, minute or two. Let's just use it immediately just to see if there's a pickup we can get, and then wait for it to respawn in time for the next dragon or Baron. Of course, it respawns every 5 minutes now, so it's not going to be up perfectly in time for either of those objectives, I don't think. We'll have to see now where LGD can start getting themselves a holdover on this game. They have themselves a lot more items. But yeah, there's so many items on their carries that someone oversteps, that could be enough of an angle in itself.
Literally, Doggo lost like 1/4 of his health from one just auto attack of Kepler. And I think it's starting to get to a point where this composition's really kicking up the damage. As we had said, we were close to 4 items. We have the Eclipse now for Haichao as well. And we actually see the Kirkshade Shard sold for an executioner by Kepler.
Interesting, because that's going to stop some of Milio's healings. Not a huge amount of healing on his side. Big damage on the Burdol.
Yeah, Hacker looked for the Nation's Grasp, but didn't realize all of LGD were there. They do get Hacker out of there with Keeper's Verdict, but the tower is still the name of the game here. About 10 seconds on the Baron buff. It's not going to be enough.
So, mid lane turret feels like it will inevitably go down despite the valiant efforts of LGD. Kepler going to have to keep an eye on his stacks at this point. He's getting towards 35 minutes. Folks, Center does do that whole thing of infinite scaling. Of course, the range doesn't matter if someone's melee range of you. You'd be attacking the same either way. Don't really get that much tankier. As you said, salty Kepler shard for the executioner's calling. So get rid of whatever incidental healing will come over from the side of Prime. The last of the Baron push has now gone off. Prime still trying to take a chunk out of that bottom.
And I was trying to look because we did at least see a little bit of that continuation of the siege here, but without the Baron buff, their composition becomes that much more weak around these kinds of setups. So it's really trying to find somebody in transition here. As you can see, Yeekai is hunting.
That he is. Yeekai has 3.5 blocks. Seeker's Arm Guard functions like the old stopwatch. Give him that one fight power spike of the stasis. He's going to catch out Hacker with a bit of damage. So that API to MR items rather though, pretty fun nowadays. Hacker actually not taking the hugest amount of damage from the ground.
Oh, LGD is going to get the blue buff for everybody.
Importantly so, actually, because of course it's past 20 minutes. Buffs are team-wide. Blue buff onto Senna, Brand, Corki for both the cooldown reduction and the mana sustain. All pretty
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. You take that all day. But the thing is now is, looking at LGD's comp, we know how they win. They team fight, they get damage off, GG easy. But Ultra Prime, we talked a little bit more about their range difference and how they've built up to this point. The fact that they've kept it such a close game. But it's one fell swoop that feels like it could be the difference maker. So are we trying to look for Decade on flanks? Are we looking for Decade to be a big member of this? Or is it really on the other 4 members?
I think it's on Yeekai against the flanks. I think Decade still probably wants to go down the straight and narrow. Yes, get into the backline how you can. I think it's also very important that Hacker, as we've seen multiple times this game, can shut down Kepler with a flash route. I think if you can force out the Devour easily from that, Yeekai has an absolute field day against most of them. Especially with the huge amount of items that he's getting up towards. If the front line, like Decade and Hacker, can blow some of the defensive tools, this Akali could be the difference maker.
We did get Bloodthirster also completed for Doggo here, so 4th item and a lot more sustainability. The thing is, though, we have double objectives spawning at the same time, and it's important ones. It's Soul and it's Baron.
Okay, is this where we see the final hammer blow fall? Definitely seems like it. Camtech Soul is not the strongest, really. In this kind of game, when you have a couple of tanks looking to survive at low HP, don't get me wrong, it's a nice added bonus. Looks like Burdol looking to catch out this Kasante.
Yeah, Decade's in a lot of damage trouble here. As Haichao and Kepler in too much more. Haichao is on 5 items now. I believe I saw him get the Void Staff last, so that's why he does that much damage. Almost half health, half the team of Ultra Prime.
That one is a nasty item to pick up. His rockets, as you saw there, hits one onto Doggo and Jwei. I think that wasn't even the big one. It still chunks them out. Such large enough size of the HP ball.
And the Baron dance shall once again become a thing. I do want to see, though, actually it looks like we're going to prioritize this dragon, which I can appreciate. Hacker, he's found JinJiao here. Dawning Shadow utilized already. Decade is trying to find the back line. He's trying to get that Q3 here as well. They do find Hacker, another in-game. JinJiao's getting low. Hacker gets the breath of life from Jwei and gets out. Now on the back is Yeekai, and he executes the Tommy Kench as Decade has found a return on the other side too. Burdol is in the mix of everything as Yeekai is trying to set up a big play here. Burdol has left himself out to dry, gets rooted down, gonna TP back. Doggo step forward. Doggo pop it off, and he's a mad one now as Ultra Prime clean house, and it's the comeback of the year so far for the team.
And it's a closer fight than the one at Baron, but it's good enough for Ultra Prime. With this win, they're going to get themselves the Soul. I don't know whether they're going to be able to get themselves Baron. Haichao is chunking out so much damage. It feels like if you sit around on an objective and choose to stand nearby, still quite dangerous beyond that point. Starts off with JinJiao, just going a little too far. I think this probably has to be Burdol there, not JinJiao. He is not as tanky as the Poppy in this late game. He's 4 levels down on his top laner. Just let Burdol walk up and do that kind of duty. Yeah, he survives a decent amount of time, but he's not in position to bail out someone like Meteor, someone like Kepler later on. And when those defensive tools are down, just as we said, Yeekai can get good value. So Ultra Prime, credit to them. They're starting to really problem solve out of their team, out of these team fights.
The fact that Decade just said, hey guys, I'll take one for the team. I'm bringing Meteor out of it so you guys can actually have a fair team fight. That is a big decision there. And I think that is what leads to a lot of these big moments. Hacker getting a double engage, just wrapping around and getting a second time charm. It feels really good for Ultra Prime on this come map. And they're down only 500 gold now. They've been consistently down like 3 or 4K. And we're getting to the point where that's not going to matter as much. We got the Soul for Ultra Prime. They have the Kempug Soul. And now Baron dance is going to be renewed.
And this dance is, I don't think it's much of a ballroom dance. Feels a little bit more like a freestyle breakdance. It's not really the cleanest thing that we've seen because both of these teams are kind of afraid of giving the ideal scenario to the other one. It's not like you can march into the river as Ultra Prime and expect LGD to not poke you out with these rockets. On the other side, LGD cannot afford to walk off the vision and allow Yeekai a big flank, which again he's trying to do. You can see how he's separated from the team.
Haichao has package this time. It's a little bit more scary for Ultra Prime than last time. Haichao's one looks a bit engaged on the back side as Yeekai still way back there. He'll be on the wrong side of the river now, though.
Even max item Corky is not getting through the MR items of Decade and Hacker. That's a statement on how this season is, folks. I know people talk about how big damage is. It's not to tanks. Tanks are so strong in this match, but Yeekai is not a tank.
They got Yeekai, but he can't get him in the end. The warm hugs healing him up. The nature's grasp there. Doggo going forward. Haichao's out of there easy. That's a lot of damage from the Pyroclasm. Got to be a little careful on how that works, Ultra Prime. Big redemption, though. That was a huge amount of healing, and Ultra Prime are right back fit for the fight.
That healing was cut by Senna, by the way. A lot of them were damaged by that ultimate, so that's after the heal cut's already been applied. Now, Ultra Prime, they're going to round 2. What ultimates do they have? They importantly have themselves the Breath of Life Familiar and, of course, the perfect execution from Yeekai.
It's got to be an
LGD.
item completion.
I think it has to be.
They've got himself to avoid.
Okay. I wonder if he solved the blood song for that at this point. Maybe he's just said, okay, this is what I was left out. No, it's not that. He sold his boots strip. He's keeping the blood song. Boots are gone. He's barefoot on the rift, but he has himself an extra couple of swords to bring with him.
Hey, dogs don't need boots. They just need to feel the ground between their paws.
Hey, they do if it's cold enough temperature, or hot enough actually. Like, you got to protect those little footsies.
I don't know. It's getting pretty spicy on the rift here.
Don't want him stood in that Chemtech sludge. Back out on the map with his team, and now LGD have given up control of this topside river, which means that Vision's going to go down with it. The Scuttle Crab will reveal some Vision as well. That's one of the things that late game Scuttle can do, and we are really, again, back to the Baron breakdance.
Yeah, I'm just sitting here watching the timer, wondering if we're going to beat the longest game of the season so far. Also an LGD favorite. We'll see Ultra Prime forcing off the Baron now here. Let's see the setup from LGD, Nymaera.
Okay, so Yeekai once again on the flank. That's where he has been the entire game so far. He's off vision. They haven't spotted him so far. I think there's one red thing, so they are just theory crafting whether he could be there. The front line from Ultra Prime is so strong. Look, they need to try and hit the back line.
The Baron's already gone. Nature's Grass now comes down. Now LGD engaged on by Hacker, and the comeback continues as Yeekai. He's right back there ready to go. Decade goes ahead and kills Kepler. Hacker might trade his life here, but it's Yeekai who will pay dividends. As it's Decade and the combo of the solo laders who are going to town on LGD. What a heartbreaking loss for LGD, but what a momentum swinger for the Ultra Prime squad.
Ultra Prime go ultra late game, and even against the infinite scaling of the Senna, even against the raid boss damage machine of Corky, they get it done. Serious good work by the front line, serious work by Yeekai getting onto the carries. Ultra Prime, all right, they're here to play.
Lucian is built different in the LPL. You can coin that to me anytime because it actually is so. And what a game from Ultra Prime. A game they were literally losing for like 90% of it, but they find a way to pick apart the diamond style composition of LGD.
Really fun.